What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Perfect World Masters. This is going to be the final game of the night. Immortals taking on the Dire, pushing it to a Game 3. As Immortals did take Game 1, Dire took Game 2, and, well, both sides looking fairly strong, if I do say so myself. Winner goes on to the winner bracket final. Loser is going to drop down and currently have no opponent because that's not played yet, but we'll see. I'm Mike Loris. Going to be joined by Franz for this third and final game. Dude, these two teams looking pretty strong. If you had to choose one to be slightly stronger, I know this is kind of a loaded question, but is there any narrow lead here for either side?
I mean, Immortals, they did really good in Game 1, and then the Dire, they did Game 2, so, you know, it's really hard to say who's going to win Game 3, because both were very convincing victories, and I think if the Dire want to win this game, or if PPD's team wants to win this game, they have to sort of do a repeat of what they did last game, which was making sure that they're actually capable of countering the aggression from Immortals that they did last game. You know, they got two really good pickoffs on the Bloodseeker, which kept QO out of the game for pretty much the entirety of the mid-game. And so if they can continue and repeat what they did last game, I think they should have a much easier time, or an easy time with Game 3.
Maybe picking up or banning out those very aggressive heroes, these heroes that can set up for, you know, just 5-man ball up and go ahead push plays. You know, maybe for the Dire, but for right now, Rubik is certainly not one of those heroes. Immortals will grab the Venomancer first, was let through the ban phase this time. And we've seen the Immortals, at least as much as they can, pick up this Venomancer. I would say that and the Monkey King are heroes that Immortals would just be all too happy to pick up. And, well, there's still that other hero in the pool. But the Dire going for the Rubik first is certainly an interesting start. Haven't seen this guy picked or banned in the previous games. And now with the Pugno once again are going to set up for at least a little bit of that second game.
You know, Rubik's sort of a decent first pick because he provides your team with some initiation, some utility in team fights, and it also doesn't really give out a lot of information about your draft, but Pugna does give out some information about your draft. I mean, this hero does well against Venomancer just because of the life strain and because you don't particularly care about being kited, since you yourself are a raged hero as Pugna. And Immortals, they pick up Venomancer, sort of this hero that seems to always do well in the games that he's in, right? Because as long as Venomancer gets his levels, he's able to farm and pressure the enemy team with Serpent Wards or Plague Wards, and Spearbreaker also a very good early game, sort of reliable hero. Probably one of the most reliable initiators in the game, just because he only requires levels in order to do it, and not an item like Blink or BKB or Shadowblade, though those items certainly help.
Yeah, I mean, even if he is underleveled, he still has level 1. That's all you need for a charge. That's all you need to start a fight, especially if you're looking at these softer heroes. Pugna and Rubik can very, very easily be brought down if they are hit with a charge or if they're charged through. Pugna at least doesn't have any sort of answer to cancel that charge. Rubik does. You have to be very quick on your fingers if you're going to make that one happen. So I do think that Spirit Breaker is, like, you know, one of, if not the best 4-position heroes in the game right now. Of course, that's, you know, there's Night Stalker, I guess. That's just my opinion, man. Spirit Breaker, I think, is #1. It also cuts down these possible picks from the Dire quite a bit. To see a lot of Nature's Prophet play nowadays is not super attractive, now seeing the Spirit Breaker on the other end. And these weaker mid laners, like, they just have a really miserable time if Spirit Breaker is going to end up charging in onto them.
I think there's two heroes to look out for in the second ban and pick phase. First of all, Lich and Earthshaker are still in the pool, and those heroes are generally quite good in the early game. And I think both of these teams seem to be going for early game oriented lineups. I mean, Immortals pretty much always goes for early aggression, and I think PPD has figured out from game 1 that if you let Immortals have a better early game, then, you know, Dubu and his squad are just going to continue to push their advantage. So, you know, Rubik and Pugna, they actually give two heroes that the team TD can use in order to fight into the Immortal. Especially since in game 1, you know, they didn't have any sort of wanted to help the team in the first 10 minutes. Since, you know, in game 1, the Magnus wanted to get farm. I think Viper also wanted to get farm, and as a result, PPD's team got ran over in game 1. And in game 2, it went a lot better because, you know, all 5 of their heroes were heroes that liked to fight early. So Immortals, they ban out the Earth Spirit, which would have given Misery sort of this initiator slash roamer for the early game.
And with the Spirit Breaker and the Night Stalker, just not options for that. You're still looking at perhaps another Nyx Assassin for the Misery 4 position. Other than that, like Bounty Hunter? I don't think. I hate to say it, but Ricky is like not really a 4 position hero nowadays. Even though I love that hero to death, it doesn't seem like that's it's not really in the cards, at least for right now. So probably Nyx if they can get it to have that kind of chain stun up. Is there any consideration for like an Ancient Apparition with that Rubik and just try to combo up the 2 support heroes together?
Yeah, most certainly, but it does make their lineup quite squishy, right? You got 3 intelligence heroes that generally don't have high health pools, and assassins still in the pool, so I actually wouldn't be surprised if Immortals pick up it next, but every position 4 hero suffers from the same problem, which is that if your lanes don't at least break even, then you don't have kill potential in any of the lanes. So when you have a hero like Spirit Breaker, you want to pair him with, or you want to have lanes that have good kill potential, right? So Venomancer is a hero that usually provides a lot of kill potential. And so to reflect that, if Dire had Ancient Apparition, realistically, they can't predict what Immortals are going to pick, and so they can't predict whether or not they're going to have kill potential on the cores of Immortals. So I think for the Dire, instead of picking up a hero like AA, they might pick another hero like Sable, or some way of slowing heroes, just to guarantee that PPD's team can sort of make these moves early without having to rely on positioning from the Immortal squad.
Well, certainly taking their time right now. Do have an Underlord to be banned out, along with that Nature's Prophet, which maybe kind of nice for Immortals that they don't have that to potentially worry about. Yeah, they have the Spirit Breaker, but that type of split push style is something that they would take care of by banning out that Underlord, that high ground, or that kind of wave defense provided to them from that hero as well. The Dire will grab the Brewmaster, and I mean, we saw MP just run a train with this hero earlier on today. Usually, though, going to be going towards offlane, and usually you want to have this hero up against some pretty vulnerable matchups, like heroes that like Bloodseeker probably being the biggest one, are just super reliant on getting those right clicks in, and Immortals so far haven't really shown that much of it. Of course, it's very rare that you're not going to pick up right clickers, but as far as Brewmaster is concerned, yeah, we've seen lanes where he's able to dominate, and sometimes lanes where he just gets dominated. It really depends on the matchups, it seems.
I think Immortals have 3 things to worry about when they look at Dire's lineup so far. First of all, how do we stop them? How do we stop the enemy team from just pushing with Pugna and Brewmaster in the front line? And then how do we actually get enough teamfight / disable / damage in order to kill, in order to actually kill or disable both the Pugna and the Brewmaster? Because both of these heroes are quite strong in teamfights if they're unchecked, and so a hero like Disruptor sort of provides the catch and teamfight required in order to deal with the Pugna and Brewmaster. The problem for Immortals right now is I feel like they don't have enough burst damage, so they have a lot, like Venomancer as a hero provides a lot of damage, but it's not very bursty, and so Brewmaster is pretty much always guaranteed to get his ultimate off in fights if Immortals are not careful.
Even if you are going to land a Static Storm, a charge on the Brewmaster, Venomancer, all of the damage he can put out is only sometimes going to be enough to kill off that Brewmaster. If Brew gets any sort of survivability versus Magic, a Cloak, a BKB, obviously the big daddy of Magic defense, or a Hood, like, it's going to be really difficult for Immortals to bring down that hero before he's able to get that split out, and Bane is the pick for the Dire side. We've seen a couple of Banes mixed in, at least nowadays. Does seem like the hero is, an ace as far as those lane scenarios are concerned. Poking and trading with Bane for some heroes is just not an option. But at the same time, this Bane is, with the Rubik, lots of control maybe, but if Immortals really are going to put the pedal to the metal, which I do expect, then Bane is going to run into some issues up against Disruptor Spirit Breaker.
Yeah, Bane's a little hit or miss, but if anything, I think PPD was looking at Bane for just a position 5 hero that could help set up kills in the early to mid game, because right now they don't really have a lot of ways to set up kills, right? Rubik is their only stun. Now they have Bane with Nightmare and Fiend's Grip, though I don't know if that's going to be enough, considering that Immortals have so many ways to cancel Fiend's Grip, and a hero like Phantom Lancer, who does pretty well against Rubik and Bane.
for Immortals, the PL is going to be perhaps a little bit of a slower type of play style. It's still very much so in their wheelhouse. They do play this quite a bit, but and versus Pugna is great versus that Brewmaster is gonna have a great time, especially once he picks up that Diffusal Blade. But it doesn't seem like for Immortals they can really apply that tower pressure that we saw in Game 1, which is, that ship has probably sailed since this Disruptor pick. But this Phantom Lancer, AoE-wise, the Dire might just be a little bit lacking. Catch-wise as well, it's very difficult to get on top of the Phantom Lancer with a Bane. Like, you gotta make sure that you get the right one. If you don't, you're just screwed. But right now, Immortals looking for still that off-lane hero. The Tidehunter is going to be banned out. They could just run back Puck. Is Puck any good here? Seems like Puck would just be an all-star.
Puck wouldn't be bad, but it also something, I'm not sure what it is, but something feels missing from the Immortal. I think they need a hero that kind of fills the gap of Phantom Lancer comes up online, and Phantom Lancer doesn't really come up online until he has that Diffusal Blade, right? So a hero like DP can sort of pressure the enemy team, like just the threat of having the DP use her ultimate to take your towers is enough space for Phantom Lancer to get farmed, because I think there's two requirements that need to be met in order for Phantom Lancer to have a good game. First of all, he needs to be able to keep up and outlevel the opponent, because that Phantom Lancer as a hero scales extremely well with levels, especially when you hit level 7. And then the other thing is that your team is actually able to fight with him, because Phantom Lancer doesn't farm super quickly. He needs heroes that help him win these team fights, just so that his team is ahead, so that it makes his game a lot easier, right? And you know, I think the Dire, they probably sense that there's an opening for the Anti-Mage here, just because an Anti-Mage has sort of favorable matchups against Death Prophet and Venomancer. You know, I think Phantom Lancer is a hero that's more than capable of dealing with Anti-Mage. You know, the mana burn's super effective to the main hero of Anti-Mage, so Pycat's gonna need a BKB and a Butterfly at some point just to help mitigate the damage from PL.
We'll have a lot of backup from his allies as well. Of course, with that Anti-Mage, Diffusal Blade, Brewmaster does have that haze, and if he'll have to split, keep heroes out of the fight with that Tornado and the Rock, obviously. But for sure, it does seem like there are answers to this Anti-Mage as far as killing him off in a mid-late game scenario from the Immortal side. But lane-wise, I don't really see any way of really challenging the AM. Like, Febby on the is going to take the Venomancer now, and Venomancer versus Anti-Mage is not that bad for Venomancer, but that's only in like a 1v1 scenario. Gotta worry about PPD, gotta worry about Misery, so there we go. Forever's Venomancer, that makes sense. So like, the Anti-Mage should have a pretty clean lane. There's a couple of games where you see Anti-Mages just forced out of lane very early on, but this doesn't seem like the type of draft that would be able to put that together as like a Disruptor, Spirit Breaker aggressive lane. Like, that it's not really going to work that well up against an Anti-Mage. So I do think that for the Dire, the TD side, this is looking like it's just going to be a pure Anti-Mage game. Probably will need a BKB at some point, but it's not that a big deal.
I think Immortals probably need to meet 3 requirements in order to win. Actually, Misery's taking a bit of damage here. No charge on Skilled Upgrader Bash first for that.
Oh, now they're going to try to bait Dubu into continuing this fight, because there's a lot of heroes from TD. Dubu going to try to race for first blood. Will end up killing off the Rubik in the end, I think. No, he won't. The Thunderstrike was pretty late there. And Zai will end up getting that first blood. That was very close to being great, and losing the Disruptor is not really a terribly huge deal, but for sure, now the Brewmaster, Zai is going to have a much cleaner time. What does he get?
Iron
Full
Talon?
Iron Talon, almost?
Recipe,
it's not bad at all,
no,
starting off.
No Quelling Blade, hello? Interesting. I guess he is offlane, so he'll just buy from the side shop, but anyway, I think Immortals, they have to do 3 things to shut down the Anti-Mage, or to win this game. First of all, they have to try to slow down Anti-Mage's initial farm, so it looks like they're actually putting the Phantom Lancer in an aggressive lane against the Anti-Mage. And then the other thing is you have to limit the amount of farming and amount of split pushing Anti-Mage can actually do. And I think that's actually where I think that's where Immortals lineup kind of suffers. They don't really have any anti-split push. They can't clear their own waves. the most they can do is they can charge the anti-mage with the Spirit Breaker and hope they actually land the gank. But you know, if Pycat's smart, that's not going to be easy for the Immortal squad. So I think Immortals probably have a little bit of disadvantage going into the mid and late game.
Misery is going to wrap around with a very late smoke, and he is going to be able to intercept this courier. Out of the smoke, one shot, run little snail. That's a hermit crab. Whatever, he's dead anyway. MP does get his delivery of the salve, so it's not a total disaster there for the Immortal side, but you very rarely expect that secondary smoke. They're going to start this tri-lane. It is going to be an offensive tri-lane after all, versus Pycat very quickly, but again, we have this Febby Spirit Breaker that's kind of awkwardly sitting here. It's going to be very rare that he's going to be able to start right-clicking and start rolling for those bashes. Does get one on Pycat, though. Pretty fortunate in that, but really needs to get that level 2, and level 2 is going to be really slow incoming in a full offensive tri-lane.
You know, Immortals have done a good job trading hits bottom. They make Pycat expend itself, so in a way that's a victory. They did use a lot of mana, so they have to be careful. You know, if they want to do a good job of reducing this anti-mage's farm, they kind of have to hit him as much as possible when he's out of position.
Thunderstrike is being spammed. They already spammed out as many level 1 lances as they can get, and I mean, Febby is still at full mana. Let's take a quick check-in at some of these other lanes before we start staring down at bottom. The Death Prophet versus Pugna matchup should be fairly even. Telekinesis on the Spirit Breaker, nothing can happen there, but of course top lane Forev is going to go toe-to-toe versus Zai. That survivability given to you by that Iron Talon. Just a little bit of extra armor, of course, that CS advantage as well with the base damage. This is going to be a lane where Brewmaster is going to be a-okay. No clap means he can't kill, but he's not really interested in killing. He just wants to farm and make sure that this Venomancer is going to have as slow a game as possible.
And the advantage for Venomancer, though, is that Spirit Breaker is a much more effective roamer than Rubik and Bane. So, you know, if Forev keeps his levels up, they might actually get kill potential on Zai, especially when Venomancer hits level 4, because the Gale and the Poison Sting scale extremely well at level 2.
Bottom lane, though, Telekinesis, just with right-clicks on the PL. And PL does have some pretty decent base damage. His armor is quite high as well, but with no mana, it is going to be a little bit difficult to actually manage this lane because you don't have that final killing blow. And now he's actually going to start getting enfeebled. 34 base damage on the Phantom Lancer. Yeah, that's not really going to be a picnic for this guy, but PPD is going to show that off, and they should know that he has Brain Sap as well, so there's no Nightmare here. Not really sure if that's something that they could really abuse. For right now, though, Febby, still level 1, because of this tri-lane scenario, is still just at the mercy of the enemies. And this is really where Bane is king. Like, even if you are going to go for this Enfeeble-based build, you have such high stats. You can do so much damage at a range and keep yourself healthy at the same time. This is like the ideal scenario for Bane. This might not be ideal for Pycat, though. No Lucky Bash there from Febby.
It's hard to say if there's a particular team that's winning this bottom lane. I think the sort of time period that will define this game will be like from the 5-minute mark when heroes start moving around to gank, because in order for Immortals to win this game, they sort of have to establish somewhat of a lead. So just so they have a little bit of an advantage when it comes to slowing down the anti-mage's farm, because this is Dire's game to win, just because they have the better mid to late game.
Oh no, the courier again? No way. Okay, we'll take flight just before that second right click kills it off, but PPD almost makes a miracle play out of a Bane with no smoke needed. MP finds a double damage rune versus CCNCs, forced to decrepify himself. Will survive, will be just fine. But he is doing very well in this lane up against MP. MP has gotten at least 2 runes now that I saw, but still is having some difficulty up against this Pugna and the Blast. PPD, speaking of difficulty, is going to get caught in the cage with the Phantom Rush forward. He's going to have the Brain Sap. He has Stick Charge. This Bane is a big guy. You can't easily bring him down. And that'll force everyone else from Immortals to fall back. Again, mana being expended for pretty much nothing on that Bane.
Yeah, at this point I think the Dire TD are actually winning 2 lanes. They're winning mid and with Panda or Brewmaster and Pugna sitting on top net worth. So, you know, if anyone's winning this exchange, it's PPD's team. So I think Immortals are going to have to change something up or go for a gank in the future in order to swing this in their favor.
I mean, still just looking at this CS, this anti-mage is having a lot of difficulty. Pycat is consistent in that, at least, just very low early game CS. Right? Not the easiest lane to manage for sure, but he's going to be able to jump in and burn the rest of Dubu's mana, charge in onto Misery, and they will have to commit deep for this one. The Lance does come out. QO has just enough mana with the stick charges. Will race for this Misery kill, but doesn't actually do any damage because of the Enfeeble. Will still slip out of there. Pycat has a blink. He's going to look for Febby instead. The hero's just a little bit closer and not in the fog of war. Febby tries to juke the blink, but will end up going down. 1 for 1 on this bottom lane, and this anti-mage does still survive. That's the big deal here. Now we have mid lane, the battle of the suck. And unfortunately, Death Prophets is not quite going to outweigh the Pugnas. Onto the Venomancer. Clap is there. They have a split. TP out immediately. Oh, God, that was a close one. Had 7 stick charges as well to you know, maybe protect that in the future, but still, this Brewmaster has had quite a nice time up top, and now with the split, is pretty much immune to the Venomancer. PPD on this bottom lane again will be aggressed upon. This time, QO coming from base with full mana pool will end up getting this kill himself, Enfeeble or not. It will be again a 1 for 1 trade. Pycat, though, is still just not CSing in the meantime. We have a wraparound onto MP. And Misery is going to get the lift up. There's a Decrepify, there's a Blast, there's a Drain. Soul Siphon battling against it. It should get the kill. No! 8 HP, MP lives. Okay, that worked. Barely.
Some value Iron Branches.
For sure. Absolutely. Pycat being charged one more time now with the rotation of Forev is going to give them a lot of extra damage here to deal with this Pycat Anti-Mage. 5 seconds left. 4 seconds left for the blink. He has stick charges. He has a blink. Oh, now it's too late.
The first rotation for Forever is a big one, and I think the Venomancer sort of either this Veno or the Death Prophet needed to rotate just because Immortals weren't exactly winning this bottom lane. So now they have a slight advantage on the Anti-Mage. They'll be able to push this tier 1 a little bit, and oh, more kills happening.
Diving in one more time for PPD. Does have well, Brain Sap. He has an Enfeeble as well, but it seems like that won't really help him here. Nightmare Deny? Oh, he gets it. Nightmare does 20 damage. And if you're at 20 health, or 19 health, that's good. That was extremely clutch by PPD. But still, they've forced out the Anti-Mage almost completely now. He's going to be forced to go into this kind of budget jungle situation. And that's bad for the Anti-Mage. But what's good for the Anti-Mage is that he has some heavy backup here. Zai rotating in as the level 7 Brewmaster. A clap and a split almost instantly kill off Dubu. And he is in a position that is not going to be expected here from the Immortals side. This tower is in deny range right now, 10% on the nose, but they will find the Venomancer. Glimpse back will keep Zai away from the Venomancer for right now, but they still have the Drain from CCNC doing a lot of damage versus Forev. Zai should have an angle here for the clap, is actually just out of range, and now is out of mana, so he can't actually split. Zai may have overplayed his hand. Will get Nightmared, but the poison on him still will work, and they still will get the kill. Forev still survives with that raindrop, will absorb the Fade Bolt, making a 2-for-0 happen. Looking at CCNC now, QO has another Spear, but he's only level 4 Phantom Lancer. Can't do much unless Febby goes in. Level 4 Spear Breaker can do a little bit more here. MP not really giving him a lot of help though, so CCNC will turn around for the Decrepify and the Drain. Will drive the rest of them back. Still, that's 2 towers in favor of TD. Despite the fact that the fight does go the way of Immortals, still TD are claiming some pretty nice wins here.
I mean, Immortals are down 2 towers, so they're not exactly winning these exchanges, and the towers also gives Pycat a little bit more space to farm, just because it's harder for Immortals to react to this side of the map now that they're missing the top tier 1 and their mid tier 1's missing as well. So, actually they might go for a kill on Pycat. I don't think they will be able to do that, even if they caught him there.
Maybe a level 6 on Disruptor, Static Storm, and gives them the chance to kill him before he gets a blink out. Till then, it's either level 6 on the Disruptor or the Diffusal Blade on the Phantom Lancer. Or Pycat playing poorly and uses up the last of his blink mana, which is probably not going to happen. So
the heroes on Immortals are actually quite under-leveled right now. Ideally, in order for Immortals to teamfight, they need the level 6 on both their Disruptor and Spirit Breaker, but those 2 heroes are quite far, sitting at level 4, which means they won't be able to be as effective in the next couple of minutes until they have that. So I think the Dire, they feel pretty comfortable. I mean, Zai is in a really good position, 100 gold away from his blink. I imagine that as soon as he does get that blink, we're going to see the Dire go for a lot of fights across the map where the anti-mage just continues to farm and his other 4 heroes are making space for him.
And again, it's a race for Immortals to get that level 6 up on the Disruptor to have some sort of reasonable answer versus that Brewmaster. It's hard to execute for sure, but is one of the better answers that you can possibly ask for. CCNC will miss all of his combo actually on QO. He does get the Doppelgang to safety, but over in the bottom lane for Ev, already did quite a bit of poison damage versus Misery. MP gonna show up and put a quick end to that Rubik. Charge coming in onto the little pandas will get for Ev actually enough time to escape. And that will be the first split from Zai, used for not that much. Again, the Perpetual Tornadoes here onto the Death Prophet will keep her and her ultimate from doing really a lot of damage. But still, that's going to be a 1 kill. And, of course, for Ev's survival on this bottom lane. But it seems like absorbing the Panda gank, that's a pretty nice gain there from the Immortal side. And they'll take this tower as well.
You can see this draft from Dire in the last pick.
Being healed up by the medic, and now the turnaround grip. Glimpse is going to break that pretty quickly. QO does have stick charges enough for 1 more spear, but level 6 he only has a level 2 spear. Charging towards CCNC instead. Now Misery's arrival to make this a little bit more difficult. PPD still not dead just yet. They take down Zai in the background in the meantime as QO and Febby will chase back the backup. And that will be just that. Zai has had a difficult time on the Brewmaster actually performing. He has a Blink Dagger now, but first split, a couple of fights not going his way. It's not really what you would expect from a Brewmaster who had almost a completely free lane.
You can sort of feel Immortals being pressured by this anti-mage. You know, Immortals, they've been constantly trying to make something happen in the last couple of minutes, and even though they're a little bit under-leveled, they've been going for them anyway, and they do manage to net a kill on Panda. Quite inconsequential if you consider the fact that Pycat's been farming the entire time, and you know, it's just a matter of time before this anti-mage hits Battle Fury, and then before the anti-mage really hits his stride. So Immortals sort of have to really pick up the pace if they want to win this game, and for the Dire, they just have to continue being able to protect the space for anti-mage.
Oh, 4 staff into Gale. Suddenly Misery crippled to 100 movement speed. PPD is going to teleport in. Gets a little bit of a snooze onto Death Prophet with a jump in clap. MP still is going to put up the drains, but cannot out-drain this damage from CCNC now. MP will fall. Of course, Zai does deal with the Venomancer as well. That is actually 2 killing sprees being ended. 1 on Zai, 1 on CCNC. That's a hell of a lot of gold for these heroes, and these heroes do love that gold. Brewmaster, even with the Blink Dagger already, the Pugna going for that Ether Lens. This is a really huge gain, as Immortals may just go in a little bit too aggressive with heroes that aren't really expendable.
Yeah, it was really aggressive, but also really well played by Misery to steal that Venomous Gale, which slowed the Death Prophet and Venomancer enough for that gank to happen. A little bit of a misplay by Immortals. I mean, they almost feel rushed at the moment to go for these kills. That's kind of uncharacteristic of Immortals to be this behind 13 minutes into the game.
Just looking at QO's farm, this is not where a Phantom Lancer wants to be. Now, to be fair, Anti-Mage isn't really that far ahead of him, so the quote-unquote one-position heroes are certainly having a tough time this game. But Anti-Mage has the ability to flash farm and recover, whereas Phantom Lancer doesn't really have that same luxury. We're looking at Zai now over in the mid lane. Charge gonna land. Once again, Zai doesn't have any mana, and it doesn't even matter. Couldn't cast a spell even if he had it. They glimpse back PPD, looking for a second into the Nether Strike, in fact. PPD will get the Brain Sap out, lots of damage onto Febby. We'll make it a 1-for-1 so far, but they get the Nova off. Another Swarm will kill off PPD. Death Prophet still chasing with the Ghosts, though. Not enough damage to kill off that Pugna. A 2-for-1 now for Immortals as Pycat and QO run into each other in the jungle. Battle of the Century, but these one-position heroes just trying to eke together as much space as they can get. It is going to be Immortals to win this fight for now and do a little bit of damage versus this tower. Death Prophet ult should be timing out soon. TP out, TP in, everyone's fine. Yeah, no tower's going to fall just yet.
So I think the big item timing to look for right now is QO about, 50 gold away from the defusal. I think as soon as he has that, he's going to look to fight with his team, especially when all their ultimates are coming up in 90 seconds. I think that might be... Oh.
Just to jump in from Zai, finds himself a Spirit Breaker. Easy kill.
I think the defusal might be what Immortals need to really get themselves back in this game and put themselves in a position to actually deal with the Centi-Mage. I mean, Pycat on the Centi-Mage is just a ticking time bomb. Ticking time bomb for the enemy team.
Well, he doesn't have Power Treads just yet, nor does he have that Battle Fury, so as far as timings are concerned, this is going to be really, really poor for the AM. But I mean, see, Forev, his farm, it's not too bad. He's got the Force Staff. For sure, he's more useful than Pycat at this stage, but it's still, Pycat needs to be able to explode in that farm rate, and this doesn't seem like it's going to help all that much. The quick charge in. They do have a Static Storm. They're going to Nether Strike him first. They're going to use the Death Prophet Silence instead of the Disruptors, and they will kill off Pycat. He is able to buy a Quelling Blade. It's something. This Anti-Mage, though, is going to be not much of a factor here, and as you said, QO does have that Diffusal Blade. Not incredibly powerful, this Phantom Lancer, but for sure more powerful than the Anti-Mage.
And you know, this Diffusal Blade actually gives QO a way to actually deal with Anti-Mage in fights, just because the mana burn is quite painful. You know, it cancels blinks, it does a lot of damage, so Pycat's probably way more behind than he wants to be, but so is everyone else. And
Glimpse back on the CCNC, straight TP out is gonna get him out of there. And Rubik as well, straight TP out. Zai, everyone makes an escape from this bottom lane push. No tower down, but still a good amount of damage on that tier 2. As it was a tier 1 to be claimed on the top lane.
Bit of a weakness of Immortals' lineup, showing there, you know, just only one stun coming from the Spirit Breaker. So if anyone TPs like that and the Glimpse is down, you know, 3 people TP out, they're all safe. Dire get the reset, survive, get some tower damage, and actually they go for a smoke of their own. So, you know, the only ultimate missing from Immortals is that Static Storm, but it is a big ultimate. So Dire look for a team fight here.
If they had a Static Storm, then they can maybe solve this. Zai jumping in will immediately destroy the Death Prop with the help of CCNC. The charge is going to land onto that Pugna, and Forev will land a pretty nice ultimate as well. Misery, though, steals it and returns the poison in kind. That's going to do so much damage to the Immortal side. QO just trying to race here for PPD. Will end up getting the heal with the poison, but now the split is going to reform Zai, and Forev will be taken care of. Dubu is here, but I don't know if he's going to be here for very long. Does glimpse back Zai. Won't die to the poison, but Zai has phase boots. He's got a blink dagger, and he's got a crit armed and ready. Run, Dubu, run. Oh, you're not dead yet, but there's still another blink. He's got to juke something fierce. Oh my god, did he really? No way, Dubu, did he really? Oh, Zai, he didn't see him as he goes back into the lane. He's a magician. Confirmed Dubu practices the dark arts.
The dark arts. But I mean, the Dire, they still win a team fight. They net 4 kills there. Pycat finishes up his Battle Fury. Starting to work on those treads now, so the Dire certainly in the winning position after that fight.
That's just like the Venomancer landing his payload. That's pretty much like his job at this stage. Land all the poison and try not to die, and well, it's going to be really difficult to do that when the Rubik does the exact same thing as well as some other things. Just because he's a Rubik. So yeah, they do involve QO in that engagement, and it's all well and good, but the Static Storm, or lack thereof, certainly feel that kind of gaping loss there from the Immortal side, as if they were able to answer Zai with his initiation, who was very slow in getting that split off. Like, he went for the full patient blink, clap, right click split. Could have made something happen. They're gonna maybe need to use it right now, chasing after Pycat. Maybe he's gonna cancel that charge and the blink. Well, he's gonna get nightmared by himself a little bit of time, but the silence comes in from the Death Prophet as well. The damage on the Pycat is enough. Full grip onto Febby, but he's able to Nether Strike now onto Zai, still taking that suck damage from MP, as is PPD with another charge. They'll take down 3 at the cost of 1. Seems like Venomancer got caught off to the side, but MP showing up huge on this Death Prophet.
And Immortals, you know, they get some pretty good pickups there. Unfortunately for the Dire, you know, they try to save the Anti-Mage, but those are too late. They lose 3 heroes, and they also lose a tier 2, so Immortals put themselves in a better position. You know, if they keep that up, then they should be able to deal with the Anti-Mage coming into the late game. However, you know, it's unlikely that PPD's team will let that happen. So we'll see if the Dire make a move in the next couple of minutes to sort of stymie the amount of aggression that Immortals is able to dish out.
Pycat still doesn't quite yet have those upgraded boots, though Battle Fury is great. His farm speed is very, very easy to amplify once he just gets this next item, and then it's just a race to try to get that that Manta style. We're seeing how much of an issue this Death Prophet is being with her silence. And they couldn't kill him in the duration of the Static Storm, but get additional silence that you can actually buff off as an anti-mage with that Manta style. And yeah, you got some options at that point for Pycat to actually survive these engagements. But it does seem like, I mean, I'll give credit to Immortals for this one. The fact that Death Prophet has used a lot of ultimates for a 21-minute game, and all of them, it seemed, have been for fights and towers. Like, it kind of just does double duty every single time, so they're really hitting their timings with this Death Prophet ultimate.
You know, at the same time, CCNC sitting top left on Pugna. He's almost done his BKB, which would help him a lot against the Immortals lineup, since Immortals don't actually have any spells that go through BKB aside from Squirberg ulti, so he should have a much better time in teamfights with BKB. That being said, you know, Pycat sort of not where he wants to be, behind on the on net worth from the Phantom Lancer. You know, that's not usually something you want to see, especially with a hero that normally farms as quickly as Anti-Mage will, at least after the Battle Fury. So, you know, both teams I think pretty even at the moment.
We like this build here for QO, assuming it is going to be this just straight defusal into heart build. Obviously health is great on the Phantom Lancer, but is that going to be more valuable than, say, a Manta style, which is a little bit more common as a follow-up to the Defusal Blade Travels?
It's an interesting decision from him, but I think the...
Oh, Zai. Well, you can think about your response as Zai dies. They also are able to steal just a kinetic build for Misery. He'll get put into his own field. He can walk out of that, but he's just not even going to try. Too much slow, as they'll take down 2 instead of 1, including Zai, who tried to split, but just wasn't quite fast enough. That might just set up for Roche. The pings are out for it.
Yeah, there's ulti on Death Prophet as well, but I think the thought process behind the Heart Phantom Lancer is just for some cost-effective health, just so a single Pugna Blast and a Thunderclap doesn't take up his illusions, since, you know, a lot of Phantom Lancer's damage comes from those illusions with the Defusal Blade, so bit of an interesting choice compared to something, say, like a Manta, but I can see why QO wants that item. And you know what? They're actually going to get a Roshan. You know, that puts Aegis on the Phantom Lancer, which means Immortals, they can reset, wait for the next Exorcism, and see if they can make a really macro movement.
110 seconds left until the Death Prophet has another one of these. It's going to be 110 seconds where Pycat is, or at least he would expect to be, almost completely safe, as he is able to probably get up to the Yasha at least by the time the Immortal side come and knock in. I'm not entirely convinced if QO is going to be able to complete up this heart in a reasonable time frame. For right now, just Outlast and Out Mana Burn seems to be the name of the game. They will still not hesitate to charge in if Febby does find an opening, but it doesn't seem like those openings are really going to be easy to come by. The Dire are fairly, the Dire Immortals are fairly blind on the map as in general. Like, one observer in the mid lane, and then just darkness everywhere, including that jungle.
You can see Zai picked up a Blink Echo Saber. Seems like a lot of Brewmasters are favoring this more right-click heavy kind of build. I mean, as long as you get a BKB at some point, then your team fight potential is always going to be met, just because you can get your ulti off. But I think building this to right-click also gives you something you can do outside of your ulti, and I think that's one of the weaknesses of Brewmaster. So this Echo Saber pickup is quite cool in that regard. But Immortals knocking on 2 tier 2s, whereas Dire's going for 1. Certainly the better trade for Immortals. We'll see if Immortals actually decide to continue to push the PPD squad back, but could be the other way around as well.
That is a big gold exchange. And of course, everyone gains gold, so no loss there, but QO just aiming for that heart. Pretty much has that one, at least the hard component, that Reaver locked up. Still has another 1,000 gold to go on top of that, but these items are going to be coming up big, and Death Prophet Ultimate is available one more time. The Aegis still on this Phantom Lancer. You may want to wait for that heart just here, able to get 2 lives worth of heart as opposed to just 2 lives worth of 1500 HP. So perhaps they'll wait for that timing, but already tier 2 towers taken in mid and bottom. Maybe a top lane could be a pretty free pick here for the Immortal side. This is still a lot of time for Pycat to get his farm going. Yasha already completed, and he is going to.
Dire, but they were charging during the smoke, so
the smoke is charged. Well, they're going to show off a couple blasts there as the TPs are coming in. Immortals are ready to receive, and it looks like TD know that something's up. They will cut back the other way, where there is actually no one to be found.
Yeah, TD had that ward, this ward in the jungle, so I think as soon as you see sort of the Phantom Lancer TPing in and the Disruptor kind of looking at the smoke direction menacingly, you know something's up. And so they don't walk into a trap there, which keep them alive for a bit longer, but, you know, they waste the smoke, and this Death Prophet's getting closer to his BKB, 300 gold away, so I think that will mitigate a lot of the damage coming out from the TD lineup, but also give them a sort of a way to counter-initiate if they decide to go high ground.
That combined with just the pipe on the Venomancer, hero like Pugna, hero like Brewmaster, who you know, can do a lot of right-click damage as we saw earlier today, but with the split, it's mostly, you know, a couple physical right clicks here and there, but the immolation for sure does a lot. The rock toss as well. It's a lot of value here as Immortal is just going to start battering down, not top, it's actually mid. QO is pretty fearless since he does have that double life. MP as well will be a struggle to initiate onto in a substantial fashion, although Phantom Lancer accidentally Phantom rushes in. He's going to lose his life, still has a doppelganger to get out. Static Storm comes up a little bit too late. They get the instant lift up onto the PL, and with the grip there, he'll Force Staff out once. The Glimpse will cut the grip short, letting QO perhaps back off to safety. With the Glimmer Cape, it looks like QO will in fact survive. CCNC, gotta watch out for this field. Will get caught in it. Dubu already used the Static Storm though, and now it's the Venomancer who's in a little bit of trouble. He will get stunned up one more time. This magic resistance is holding. They Yules and Clap at the same time. A little bit misplay there. He's able to get his ultimate off. But to what end? Can they actually make anything happen here? CCNC is magic immune, so that Nova and Poison Sting doing next to nothing. PPD will be fine. Everyone will in fact be fine, but they do take down the tier 3. I think for Immortals, that should be just good enough, because now they can look for the shrines.
And they can look for the shrines, but Pycat has completed his Mantis, who's got that B-Period Manta. He's sort of ready to fight, at least way more capable than he was before the Mantis now. So I think if Dire... I think one of the best moves that the Dire can make right is to go for a pick off and get a kill with Pycat on either the Phantom Lancer or the Venomancer or the Death Prophet, just to propel him further up in the net worth. Since if Anti-Mage is playing on even net worth Immortals as heroes, I think he'll continue to have a hard time in these team fights.
I mean, killing off those heroes that you just listed is not that easy, or at least QO does have that heart complete, so 2600 worth of Smurf in this game, and the Death Prophet as well has her own magic community in that BKB, as well as that self-Yules, not to mention the Siphons for additional sustain. So yeah, you would love to get these pickoffs, but these pickoffs are going to be ones that you really have to work for.
I mean, it's not easy, but if they manage to catch Immortals out of position, I think they can certainly go for these, especially when you have Misery pushing out mid lane with the Plague Ward. So I think it's not really a question of whether or not they can. I think they sort of have to, because if Immortals continue to group up, it's kind of hard for a TD to fight into it, especially with these BKBs coming up online. BKB on Death Prophet, BKB coming on Spiritbreaker. Like a lot of Dire's, a lot of TD's damage relies on a lot being magic immune.
Radiant's bottom shrine has fallen.
Shrines will be taken. We got a charge coming in towards Zai. That's gonna actually bring the Spiritbreaker into the clutches of Misery. He does have a Yule Scepter for Ev, is gonna give chase. They have the Glimpse. Misery is gonna get yanked right back into a drain, and he'll Yules himself, and then he'll immediately die. They get a Radiant Courier also, that's for some reason in the area, and PPD, completely out of mana, gets charged. Q already dealt with that Bane, at least most of the way. And that's a nice 2-kill there for the Immortal side, because they didn't have to use any of their ultimates for it. What if they're just going to try for Ract now? The window isn't really that huge, unless they pick off, like, Pycat, but that's not really going to happen.
That's not, but I mean they can slow siege with exorcism as long as they're a little bit more careful.
Well, she
not getting bursted down this time.
is going to get rejuvenated up by that urn charge. Unfortunately, there's no creeps here. Where are the creeps? There's one melee creep coming in. That's good enough. That's all you need. As QO is just sending his illusions in. These illusions are damn near unkillable thanks to that heart. And they will ghost down the tower. Zai, he does have a split, and they do now have everyone up, but just enough space creation for that Death Prophet Exorcism to do its job. And that's going to be melee racks down at the cost of pretty much absolutely nothing there from Immortals. And the fact that they made that play without an Aegis just goes to show what they can do in just a little bit once they have another ultimate for the Death Prophet.
That makes it makes the split push of Anti-Mage a lot easier to deal with, because normally, you know, Phantom Lancer doesn't really clear waves as quickly as Anti-Mage, and Death Prophet and Venomancer can't do it safely, and so, you know, now that they have mid pushing in by default, it makes it a lot easier to predict where the Anti-Mage is going to be, and a lot easier to position yourself on the map without being picked off. So, you know, a really big racks for them, and you know, if Immortals keep this up, they're on track to win the game. The only problem is, you know, Anti-Mage is a hero that can come back quite easily in these situations, especially since Anti-Mage does a ton of damage to both the Venomancer and Death Prophet if they get caught out.
Well, the Anti-Mage still is actually 100 gold behind the enemy PL, which, considering the pickoffs, considering the objectives that Immortals have been taken, you'd maybe say that PL's net worth is a little bit inflated thanks to that. Not the same going the way towards that Anti-Mage, but Pycat is slowly getting ready to join the fights and be fully effective in them. Of course, once he gets this BKB completed, which is very soon, in 30 seconds, or whenever he gets back to the fountain, or base, not face, you know, he'll have that BKB, he'll be ready to go, and it's really, really difficult for Immortals to deal with that hero from that point on.
Will they catch Kyo here?
Well, there's 4 heroes waiting in the trees. There's a grip here as well. No mystery as to which one the real Phantom Lancer is with the Drain. They can't quite insta-kill him. They have to kill him, though, because he has that heart regeneration. He's glimmered, though. He's gaining a lot of HP back. Another strike, they'll finally kill off that Phantom Lancer. The Death Prophet has arrived. She is going to be cycloned, though. Can't really do anything up there. Just has to wait. Now BKB available for her. Lifted up, though, and drained out. Pycat's going to arrive. MP is pretty darn fast, though. Has an Invis rune. Will get out. Misery is chasing through as that Rubik Static Storm is going to get deployed, but Pycat with the BKB is just going to shrug that one off. MP now decides it's ready, it's time to fight. He's going to go for Misery first and very quickly deal with that hero. Zai, he already used his ultimate. He's going to get to Crepify, which will save him a little bit of time, but it's not going to protect him up against MP. Now the Glimpse back onto the Pugna should be able to seal the deal onto CCNC as well, although he does have another drain with the Crepify onto the Spirit Breaker. He's taking so much damage here, won't quite get back to full HP, and they still have MP tearing fools up in the background. Now CCNC is going to be charged one more time. We'll do him in, and it's going to be a 4-for-1 exchange. That PL with that heart, so very difficult to kill, but man, it's the Death Prophet that steals the show.
Yeah, I mean, the Dire, they did a really good job of picking up PL there, but unfortunately they sort of overextended, and as soon as their Primal Spirit split was up and as soon as their BKB was up, you know, the fight was really hard for them to take, and they sort of just ran into a trap of the DP ult and the Venomancer ult with no real ways of mitigating the damage. And, you know, instead of getting a good pick off on the PL, they lose 4 heroes. And, there's a charge on Pycat.
He is going to smell something coming. Febby is going to cancel, and they will just be happy with that win. Roshan is up, and Immortals are just a minute off of having another Exorcism up. This is going to be something that TV can contest.
Kind of see 2 things here, actually. First, we'll see if Misery dies.
He has a Yule Scepter, but that'll buy him a couple of seconds so that the charge can land. And it'll be purged off immediately as well. Here comes the Static Storm. It's going to land only really onto PPD. Bane very quickly, though, will be dealt with as Pycat is just desperately chasing after Dubu. Now he's going to get his own BKB up, but is actually getting permabashed. Takes a lot of damage. It's going to ignore him. Go for Zai instead with the Yule Scepter. Oh, Brewmaster is going to clap, but he's not going to split. And they just gave Anti-Mage the cold shoulder. He had BKB, they couldn't drain his mana, so just ignore him, man. Just go for someone else. CCNC in the meantime is going to have to pop his own BKB. And Pycat still is not in a comfortable spot right now as the Spirit Breaker comes charging in. They force the buyback on Zai. 4 stabs, 4 stabs. The Spirit Breaker still has his own BKB ready to go. What's this MP ultimate looking like? Oh, 5 seconds until another Exorcism is going to be used. By that time, they'll have another split. The Dire are still ready to go, at least in theory with their cooldown. Zai's going to jump right in. No Static Storm will cancel that, but it'll be in the back lines where QO is just running rampant. He is going to get lifted up, but we can see how little damage he's taken. Ferev's now going to drop the ultimate right in the middle of everyone. They finally get the grip onto the Phantom Lancer. The damage, though, isn't quite enough, and he can just back off and wait for a couple seconds to get back up to full HP. In the meantime, MP chasing forward, looking for the Bane, will take him down. There's a Mana Void onto Ferev, but it doesn't really do all that much. The Venomancer is still fairly healthy. Another charge back in onto the Anti-Mage, and they should be able to bring him down. They will. 77 seconds as still, look at all these illusions. There's Smurfs everywhere. Another swarm through, another yank back onto CCNC. They're going to try to rush down the Pugna before he's able to TP out, but he does end up getting back to his fountain. But do they care about the fountain? It looks like they really don't. CCNC trying to just drain everyone out, but he's dying to Kibo in their own fountain. Look at these illusions. They're taking fountain shots. They don't give a damn. GG is called, and Immortals will 2-1 the Dire.
Immortals, they played that really well. They basically played a perfect game against him. They slowed down his farm in the early game by tri-laning against him, and then they caught the Phantom Lancer back up by taking some really good fights. And then, you know, in the mid game, they gave Pycat a lot of trouble. They picked him off a couple of times, and because TD's lineup sort of revolved so much around Pycat and the Anti-Mage, with Pycat so behind in farm, it became really easy for Immortals to take every fight. And you can see, as soon as they grouped up with that BKB on Death Prophet, it became impossible for TD to win a team fight. So really well played by the Immortals.
And just the timing at which that last fight happened, the fact that they were able to get a couple of pickoffs without needing that Death Prophet ultimate because it simply wasn't up, and then it does come up as soon as they need it. Man, that heart build on QO just really, really destroying the Dire there. Those illusions, I don't know how much damage it actually did, but I can tell you that the mana burn, that pressure that the Phantom Lancer provides, that is intense. And that's going to push these Immortal guys up into the winner bracket finals, facing either Complexity or Digital Chaos. I think that game is going to be played tomorrow to determine that match. The Dire are still in it, though. They're going to drop down to losers to face, it's actually already revealed. Spoiler alert, guys, VGJ Storm took out Rattletrap, and they will have the matchup against Dire. Again, that should be happening tomorrow. For right now, though, we are done. We guys sincerely hoped you enjoyed the casting, you enjoyed the games. This is just getting going, so be sure to tune in again here tomorrow. And if you did enjoy the casting, you can follow us at Mike Loris for myself, at Hellafrons for my co-caster. It's in the upper right-hand corner. It's on the screen. It's in the title. It's pretty much everywhere. Any final words, man?
It was just really well played by the Immortals. I mean, they looked a little shaky in Game 2. You know, PPD seemed to have figured out the Immortals lineup, but in Game 3, a little bit of a greedy pick, the Anti-Mage, and the Immortals managed to punish it. But I mean, the game could have gone either way, so really well played by both teams.
Alright guys, that's going to be it from us. Hope you guys have a good night. GG.